you just kind of casually glossed over the transition in your late 60s, early 70s and partners and dealing. I mean, was it hard to get back into climbing? This is Climbing Gold. Let's just dive in. It's like talk about transitioning.
Well, I mean, I'd always wanted this my whole life, but it'd always been a giant secret. I never told anybody. And and I was really terrified of anybody ever finding out and all this stuff because I didn't know what was going to happen. But as the world changes and moves on, it sort of became accessible. Um, and so, but in the beginning of it, I was kind of a wreck and uh, didn't really understand who to climb with as much as anything. And also I was putting a lot of, I think, mental energy into that. And so I wasn't as good a climber for 3 or 4 years, I think. But
What
gradually, actually, I climb mostly with women and I climb mostly with women that climb 513 and 514, it seems like. And I can't keep up with them, but I can belay pretty good. Um, but yeah, and so I sort of got emotionally over that. And so for the past 4 or 5 years, I've been able to fully enjoy climbing. And I love to climb in the gym. I like sport climbing. I don't want to do anything dangerous. Um, I don't want to fall any further than 20 feet or something. But
I mean, what was the biggest challenge? Or I mean, or is it challenging, or is it just liberating to suddenly be the person that you felt your whole life and like I don't know, go deeper if you can.
it it became liberating. But once I started, it was terrifying because I had to totally tell my partner what I wanted to do, and we were going to all this therapy, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew that I just had to deal with this thing that had been in me all these years, wanting to always wear women's clothes and stuff like that, and sneaking around and feeling bad about myself, basically. So it started with coming out to my partner and going to a lot of therapy, and then I came out to my kids, who were all great, and then so I sort of gradually started coming out to my close friends in climbing, and a real yeah. So I started coming out to my close friends in climbing, and then I had been climbing with Madeline Sorkin, and I thought, okay, well, Madeline's a gay person. I like Madeline. I'm going to tell Madeline. So I went, called her and said, I want to meet and have coffee and talk to you about something. So we had a meeting. We went to the coffee shop, and she'd been climbing with Jesse Hugh, and she rocks in with Jesse. And so it's like, I was thinking Jesse's like the most macho person, and I didn't want to
Yeah.
just work this out to Jesse. But then they sat down and Madeline said, oh, you wanted to talk to me, not me and Jesse. And I said, yeah. And then somehow I just blurted out. I said, I always wanted to be a girl and not a boy. And Jesse's eyes got really big and he said, who do you want to have sex with? I said, my wife. um, and then the next day I came into the climbing gym and the movement, the big round steps there in Boulder. And so I come in, I'm sitting on the steps, and all these women come up and hug me. And I'm like, what's going on? And then Dana Richardson comes over, Dana Ludzinski comes over and says, you told Jesse, and Jesse told Olivia, and Olivia told everybody. It's like, okay, I guess this is not a secret anymore.
But
So
isn't
I
that
went and I thought, who do I need to actually tell right now? And I thought, well, my main employers in the climbing gym business are Mike and Ann Worley, and I'm going to go talk to them. So I went and found Ann Worley and said, I'm transitioning to living more as a woman, and I just wanted to tell you before, because it's in the gossip world now. And uh, she said, well, what does this mean for our business relationship? And I said, well, I hope nothing. And she said, okay, good. That was the end of that. So that's been generally the way it was. The community's been fine with it. It just took me really years to try to get it out into the community and to find out what was going to happen. And I don't know. I'm happy with my life now in a way that's better than it's ever been.
isn't it with the relatively easy response from the community and all your friends, roughly supporting? I mean, I know there must have been some turmoil with some of your other older partners and things, but does it make you wish that you had transition sooner?
Sort of not, I'm not a really looking back person. And,
Mm.
in 1965, when I already knew I felt this way, this was not a thing people did, but almost no people did. And
Yeah, growing up in Texas in
up in West
1965,
Texas.
you were like, hell no.
Yeah. I mean, I'd go into the barber shop and I'd say, can you leave it a little bit long? And they'd go, do you want a crew cut or a burr? Those were the two choices. $2, you're done. Right. So no, it wasn't a thing. So I can't go back. Can't redo it. Um, I climbed a lot of stuff. I raised my kids. Was a carpenter, and then I became an architect, and I designed a lot of buildings for a lot of people. And um, yeah, I don't have any real regrets.
I know you built some great gyms. Now though, with your transition, do you feel like you're done in a way? You're just like, well, that's the thing I did. Easy. I'm just living my best life. I guess you're retired now, so you're just focused on sending.
Yeah,
Is that something that's like an
just focus on
ongoing,
something.
is that an ongoing source of emotional turmoil in any way, or is that just something that once you sort of work through it, then you're like, cool, now I just get to live my best life?
Not really. You still have an imposter syndrome, kind of a little bit of like, kind of really put on this pretty dress and go to the grocery store. And the answer is basically yeah. But it's like, oh, what am I going to wear to this and all that kind of stuff.
Is that
So
something that you think just gets easier with time because you just get used to, you just consistently do something and you're like, it's always this
yeah,
is the way I do it. And that's normal.
yeah. And also I got enough self-confidence so that if I am wearing a dress and somebody hears my voice, which is what they key on, sometimes they go, can I help you, sir? It's just like, yeah, I want the I need a pound of hamburger or whatever. I mean, it's like, I don't think it's an intentional meanness. I think people gender people really quickly and
Mm.
kind of stick with their initial gendering. Um, just an
I mean,
awful,
how has that been for you in the climbing world? Because uh, it's like your name was so widely known in the community for so many years. You're in guidebooks. Like, it's like basically your climbing achievements have been celebrated for 50 or 60 years. And then I don't know, how does that I don't even totally know how that works.
it worked fine. Nobody really cares. They, they go, when I look, they sort of gradually, when people do guidebooks or mountain project and stuff, they go through it. If it was Jim, they change it to Jamie. So,
Nice. So
um,
basically just slowly updates as like when people republish books and
yeah.
republish whatever.
So I think there's probably a lot of people now that know me as Jamie that don't know that I was, a male person and trying to for most of my life. But the younger generation, the kids that are 12, 15, 20, 25, they just don't give a shit about this stuff. They just see like you can be whatever gender thing you want, and we don't really care, and you can change and you can try stuff on and try to take it off. And you know,
Mm.
you've got really good Lore Saborin who climbs better than they do, not many people.
You've said that climbing was a refuge to you throughout your life.
Yeah.
And now that you've been part of the climbing community for basically your entire life, is that refuge just your home? Like is that where you feel the safest within the climbing community?
Well, it's just I like my role in the climbing community. A lot of I mean, we used to have a Sunday morning bouldering operation going at Rockin' and Jammin', the first real climbing gym here in Colorado. And it was Daniel Woods and Emily Harrington and Paige Clausen and me and Jim Collins. It was our Sunday morning, and they were 12.
I remember rocking and jamming. I went there for nationals when I was like a kid, when I was like 14 or 12 or something. It
Yeah.
was like when there weren't that many nice gyms in the country.
Yeah. And I've sat there on the bench and given good advice to an awful lot of the young, really good climbers. And I feel like sometimes I have this weird role of being like the odd trans grandmother of American rock climbing because they know they can ask me stuff and I'm not judgmental and I have a longer view.
Mhm.
you know?
And so what do you see as your legacy in climbing?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I guess the thing that's known is the Emperor Face still. I mean, that thing has only been climbed 8 times since we did it 50 years ago. Total 8 times.
That's crazy.
And nobody's ever truly repeated our route. And it's only one other time that somebody started at the bottom and climbed all the way to the top. And they got like 2 years ago and they got the PLA d'Or for it. So
Did that make you slightly better? Because the PLA door didn't even exist when you did
no, there were no
it.
prizes, no sponsors, no money, no nothing.
You need your retroactive PLA door. You're like, come
Yeah.
on, guys.
Well, I'm sort of getting that now because it's really interesting to me to have. I mean, when we climbed the first reascent of the diamond, we didn't come home and tell anybody. And Roger Briggs called me 2 weeks later and said he was going up to do the first reascent. And did we already do it? I'm like, yeah, we did. And so, um, so it wasn't, I was kind of I never pushed what I was doing. I didn't really, some people promote themselves and I never promoted myself. And also there was not really any way in that time to promote yourself. So I just climbed because I loved climbing. And I did want to do the first reascent of the diamond, and I did want to do the first ascent of the Emperor Face. And those are ego and remembering something you did that's pretty great. But in the end, I didn't, doesn't know why I did it. I did it because I loved doing it. And I still love doing it.
I know that's why you've been doing it so well for 66 years.
Yeah,
Kind of like,
I
oh,
like
there's
it.
just yeah, you have to really love something if you can keep at it for so long.
Yeah. I mean, if I go into the climbing gym and I on site at 12C and climb it perfectly, I'm like, that was great. I'm
You're
really
like,
happy.
what a day. That's funny
That
because
was,
I feel the same way. You know, if I go into the gym and on site something, I'm like, what a day.
yeah, that
You
was
just want to
great.
have moments of feeling like a good climber.